For the past couple of weeks, God has been putting some things in my heart and showing me some things. And I know that I have been spoken to and taught many times by Bishop how that when God, she'll say sometimes, she'll come up to us and she'll say, you know, there's something will be spoken, just kind of like in passing, we'll just be talking. And she does this not just to me, but to Danielle and some of the others, and she'll say, okay, yeah, put that in the crock pot. And so I put it in the crock pot. And I had to let it simmer and let it cook. And I had to smell on it every day. You have to taste it, make sure that it's tasting right, make sure that it's good, make sure that it's well seasoned, that's right. Make sure that it gets inside of you. I had to let it get inside of me. I had to taste and see that it was good. And then I had to walk it out. So I had to do all of these things before it was time to serve it. Amen? It's got to be real tender so that it goes down real easy. Nothing worse than a piece of meat that hadn't been cooked that's tough and you can't get it to go down. What does it do? It gets hung in your throat. Can't nothing go down that way. You have to spit it out or drink a lot of water. And you can't, it won't go down, it's not going to chew up, so you have to spit it out. It's just nasty. But God is a God who has given us a good word. Amen? It's His word. It's His word. So I want to go right into the word today. God has been speaking to me about how that we are to line up with His word. And the truth. And well, I get to thinking, I process the words that have been spoken to us from past, recent, and how that He's brought us to such a time as this. And I process that out. And I think back about it, how that, if 2 or 3 weeks ago, Bishop was standing before us, and she was giving us the word of truth. And we were talking about, we started with the belt of truth. Because everything has to start with the truth. If you don't know the truth, you're not going to build right. Amen? You have to know the truth. You have to know that have a firm foundation of the truth in order to be able to build. And so I got to thinking about just recent, the words that have been coming forth to the body. And see, when we get words, whatever word comes forth, you take that brick, you take that rock, and you start a foundation. That's how the wall gets built. And so you lay that down. And then you come along beside it, and then when the next word comes forth, when he talks about how that we are supposed to raise the bar, we're supposed to live by a standard. And that standard has to be what we measure ourselves by every day. Not just some days, not just when I feel like it, but every day. And Danielle brought that word forth about the bar and how that it's straight across and how that it has to be out. Because see, it can be up here, but if it's hanging down on one end, it's still not right, is it? It's still not right. And so she talked about the bar and how the bar was high. We had to keep the bar high. The bar speaks of the standard, and you measure that by the Word of God. Is my life measuring up to the Word of God, to the standard of God? And so I thought about that word, and I processed that word, and I let that word get into my spirit, and I took that word, and I took it as another building block, and I laid it down. And then I began to put some tempered mortar in around it to make sure that it stays. I'm just talking about the wall. I'm going to talk about the wall right now. Because this is how you build a wall in your own life. This is how we have to start. And so then we get to another place and we start talking about how that we're to treat one another with love and kindness. The Nehemiah Project. We are to treat one another with love and respect, with brotherly love, and look out for one another and take care of one another. They will know that we are His disciples by the love that we have for the brethren. Amen? And we're not to cut one another down and chop each other up. But we are to love one another, to come along beside that one when they fall and bind up their wounds and encourage and help them. And so I took that, and I took that as a building block. And I laid that rock down, and I put a little more mortar in it and around it so that it stays firm. Because see, when bishops came here, they came here because God told them that she was in a Nehemiah project. And I don't know when that word came forth to her. I don't know at what point in her life that God showed her about the Nehemiah. But I want to give this to her because this is vital to where we're going today. But I want us to understand what a Nehemiah project is and what the prophecy behind this and what God has spoken, because it's vital to where we are right now. Amen?
was just showing me how the body of Christ is, when you study, I've studied out for years the book of Nehemiah, and how I know that God's called me to be the king's cupbearer.
Yes. Yes.
This messed me up. You didn't tell me he was going to do this. And as the king's cupbearer, they drank it before it was served to the king.
Yes.
And the thing is that we are the body of Christ.
Amen.
And we have to drink it before we serve.
Amen. Amen.
So I'm saying?
Amen.
And so it's got to kill us first, our flesh.
Right.
And so the word of the Lord comes and it crucifies us and it kills us first.
Right.
Like you just were sharing earlier. And so the Lord was telling me that I was called to be the king's cupbearer. And that I had to gather the elect, gather together a remnant of people that would fight with one hand and build with the other, that would forsake all, that would not listen to all of the naysayers and all of those that they would forsake all.
Yes.
And go and build a wall.
Yes.
And so, like Nehemiah, I had to go by myself. You have to go alone because it's a narrow passage.
Yes. Yes.
And you've got to go alone and you've got to go scout it out.
Uh-huh.
And for years he had told me that I was going to build, that I was going to plant a church in Pulaski County. He told me that probably 30 years ago. And I remember laughing and saying, no way. And over throughout the years he would tell me that. But I never knew that this would be the place other than where I built before. This is where he's going to build the wall. And we just found the rock yesterday.
Praise God. Thank you.
And you didn't know that, because I just haven't had a chance to tell you. And I have to say that it is, and this is very prophetic as well, it's a single stone, and it looks like something you would have the Ten Commandments on, upright, but we're going to lay it down on its side. And when you lay it down, it's 7 feet long, 7, the number of completion.
Wow.
It's 3 feet thick for the Trinity, and it's 5 feet tall, which is the number of grace.
Yes.
And that is our
Praise
wall.
the Lord.
The Lord's provided our wall. So, and we may or may not have to dig and put mortar around it. It's so sturdy, I don't think it's going to fall on anything.
Yeah.
But the Lord said, if you don't fall on the rock will fall on you and grind you to bits. And so, as I was studying about the wall, Nehemiah gathered the stones that had been through the fire.
Yes, he did. He did.
He gathered the stones of the remnant of what was left. He gathered the stones that had been through the fire, but they didn't have tempered mortar. And he built it with tempered mortar. And you read that, I believe it's in Ezekiel chapter 9, when he talks about the intercessors, and they needed to build the wall with tempered mortar.
Right.
Only tempered mortar can withhold the fire.
Right.
I asked my son, who's a contractor, I said, what's the difference between untempered and tempered mortar? He said, tempered mortar will not crumble in the fire,
Right.
but untempered mortar will.
Yes.
And there's many people that want to build, but they don't want to go through the fire.
Right.
And they don't want to pay the price because it'll cost you more to go through the fire and to build with the tempered mortar. And so we gather what's been through the fire, and then we build. And I believe that we've got people here that have been through the fire, going through the fire, and he's going to build the wall.
Yes.
We've got the rock there as our witness. The
Yes.
rock is the witness, and the rock is our prayer wall. And the rock is there
Yes.
for memorial that
Yes.
this is where we met
Yes.
the Lord. And it's going to be
Right.
sitting right there at an angle for everybody that goes by to see it at the crossroads.
That's right. That's right.
At the crossroads.
Amen.
And so the Lord just said the Nehemiah project, and I believe that we've been in the Nehemiah project gathering the stones since we came here. And we've been here 8 years, it'll be 9 years in December.
Wow.
And we're just now getting the stone. See, love is patient.
Yes, it is.
Love is kind, long-suffering. And sometimes God does it suddenly, like he did with Amanda and Michael. God just did it suddenly.
That's right.
Even though it was a suddenly, God prophesied that it was coming.
It took a long time to
It took a long time
Bring
for
it
it to
together
build,
for such a
to
time as
prepare
this.
them for
Yes.
such a time as this.
Yes.
And so,
Amen.
we wait a long time and then God does it suddenly. Well, why are we shocked when God already said it would be? And he's saying he's coming again, and everybody's like, well, we've heard that all of our life.
Amen.
Well, God said to build a wall. Well, where's the stone? What's happening? Why aren't we doing this? Because it's all in God's time. It's because we had to have Michael to go get the stone.
Yes.
God sent Michael the Michael, the archangel, to Daniel, and God said, that's our Michael. And Michael didn't just go up because God had me praying for our Michael for years.
Yes.
For years.
Yes.
And I believe it was Daniel that saw a semi when we first started over here and had Michael. Michael, the name Michael was on the semi, on the back of it. Isn't that right, Danielle? And she went up and she told us about it. And God said, I'm sending my Michael to you. Well, did it happen then? No. Because prophecy is something proclaiming that's coming.
Right.
It hasn't yet come, but he said he's on his way.
Right. Right.
And 21 days it took Michael to get there.
Yes.
But Daniel kept on fasting, kept on praying until Michael got there.
Yes.
And now we've got our Michael here in the natural, but we've also got Michael the archangel. I believe with all my heart, he's waging war.
Amen.
Because if we weren't doing anything for God, the enemy would not be coming and attacking us.
That's right.
Because the devil ain't going to mess with somebody that ain't going
That's
to.
right. That's right. Come on.
And so when Nehemiah began to build, he went with the king's blessing.
Yes.
I didn't need any man to launch me.
That's right.
I went to the king, and he gave me everything I needed to build with.
Yes.
And he said, just like he did Abraham, he said, go, just go, and I'll go before you. And he's provided every single way. From the first day that I started until this day, he's always been faithful. He's always provided everything.
Yes.
He's provided the stone. He's provided the stones. He's provided a people and a remnant.
Yeah.
And he will get a people that are hungry and thirsty.
Amen.
Because he's tired of speaking and speaking to
Yes.
people that will not be moved.
That's right.
He wants stony hearts to be removed, and he wants to give them a heart of flesh.
Amen.
And so he's coming to people that are looking for him. And so Nehemiah began to build. And here we are.
Yes.
We're building.
Yes.
And we're building up a people.
Yes.
The people are the wall.
That's it.
And the church has forgotten the vision of the Lord is to build the wall of
Yeah.
prayer.
Right.
To build up, my
Right.
Father's house is to be a house of prayer.
Yes.
And what we're building is a house of prayer. We're
Yes.
building up families. We're restoring the waste places. He's the redeemed of
Yes.
the Lord. We are to be the redeemed
That's
of the
right.
Lord, and we need to say so.
That's right.
Not just in word, but in deed.
Amen.
Because God is tired to just see the stones all scattered.
That's right.
This valley is full of people that have no shepherd.
That's true.
It's full of people that don't even have the knowledge of the Lord. They don't even know the word of the Lord. They know religion without relationship. They don't know that they can have an intimate relationship with God that is right here, right now. He's not a God afar off, but He's very present. He's here, but people just can't get that. Religion does not teach that,
That's right.
as you well know.
Amen.
And look what the Lord has done with you. Because we waited upon Him. Those that wait upon the Lord, He will renew their strength. And they will mount up with wings of eagles. And so it requires, God can do more with one person that obeys. We might be alone, but He's with us in the fire. He's with us in the fire and in the flood. And He will build it. He will do it as long as we believe. He's faithful. He began a good work, and He's faithful to complete it. He's going to finish what He
Oh,
started.
yes, He will.
Because He began it.
That's right.
And each one of us can choose to be a part of it or not. Not everybody's going to build the wall. But those that are called will. They'll gather with Nehemiah and they'll build it.
Amen. Praise God.
Praise the Lord. No, she didn't know that I was going to give her that to say. But I knew that it was perfect because I know that God is all in this today. And she had no idea that I was going to Nehemiah when I asked her to speak that. But first, before we go to Nehemiah, I want to go to Amos. And I want to go with, first, you don't have to go here with me. I want you to go to Amos chapter 7. Amos 7:7. And when you get there, while you're going there, I'm going to read to you Amos 8:11 first. So behold, the days are coming, says the Lord God, that I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. They shall wander from sea to sea, and from north to east. They shall run to and fro, seeking the word of the Lord, but shall not find it. When God showed me this in the Word, He was speaking to me about how that many times the words have gone forth. His Word has gone forth. And because we are not seeking Him and His voice. See, this was during a time in Amos's life when Amos was prophesying and God was showing him. He said, you've been through many famines where there's not been any bread and not been any water. There's not been enough to sustain you. But I'm sending a famine now that's not a famine of bread, because the bread is here. We've been given bread every Sabbath. We are given plenty of bread. Amen? Much to eat. And there's not a famine for thirst for water, because the water is the washing of the water of the Word. We have plenty of the water. So we're not in a thirst right now. We're not in a famine for bread or water. But what we are in a famine for is for hearing the Word of the Lord.
Yes.
Because we're listening, but we're not hearing. And that's what God is saying. I need you to hear what the Spirit is saying today. Amen? Yes. And not keep running to and fro, trying to seek. We've got people out here that run to and fro, east to west, trying to hear what the Word of the Lord is. Because they're not being fed bread and water. They're not being fed the truth. And so they're searching, trying to hear a word from God. And they're being given false prophecies and food that won't hold up, and it's not pure water, and so they're starving to death. We're living in a valley of dry bones, and God is saying, I need you to give them pure water. And that's what God spoke in the beginning when we were sitting here, when we were in prayer, when Bishop was praying. God said, I don't want you to add to it, and I don't want you to take away from it. I want it to be my unadulterated word.
Yes.
Amen? Now go with me, if you're already there, Amos 7:7. Because we're going to plumb the wall. We're going to plumb the wall. A plumb line is a line. It's like a cord, and it has a weight on the bottom of it. And when they were building walls, and I guess construction workers still do this today, I think they call them levels. But what they do is they would hang that cord down the wall. And they would make sure that the wall was straight up and down, and that it wasn't leaning. And so that's what they used a plumb line for. So 7 says, Thus he showed me, behold, the Lord stood on a wall made with a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a plumb line. Then the Lord said, Behold, I am setting a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not pass by them anymore. See, God is saying, I'm not going to pass by this anymore.
Amen.
I'm putting a plumb line now.
Yes.
See, when God showed me this last night about the plumb line, he showed me how that Danielle talked about the rod and how the rod needed to be up here. Well, when you put the rod up here and the plumb line here, what do you see?
Cross.
A cross. He said, always keep the cross before you, because that's what you're going to measure yourself by. And I was like, and God just started speaking to me and telling me how that many people are not lining up with His Word. They're not lining up. A wall speaks of prayer. A wall speaks of character. A wall speaks of your integrity. A wall speaks of your strength and your foundation. A wall is used to keep the enemy out,
yes,
and to keep you in, and keep you safe, yes, not to keep the enemy inside where you are. Amen? And so a wall speaks of great things.
Yes, it does.
And so God was speaking to me about how that we need to, He's dropped the plumb line. And He's saying, I want you to line up. I don't want you to be leaning. What do we, God said, what are you leaning toward? What do we lean toward? Do we lean toward our own understanding?
Right.
Do we get the Word and we measure it out by our own understanding? Our own thoughts and our own reasoning? What do we lean toward? Or are we just leaning toward the world? Because see, my wall, when God builds my wall has to be for Him. My wall has to be strong. My wall has to be dependent upon Him. Unless God build a house, they that labor in vain. I don't want to labor in vain. I don't want to just be setting rocks on top of something. I want my rock to be a solid foundation. I want to excavate it. I want to get all the rubbish out. I want to move everything out so that I can lay a good groundwork. And there is a good groundwork that's been laid here. And if I build upon it with any other thing than what God has called to build upon, it will not last and it will not go through fire.
Amen.
Amen. So God is calling us to build a wall that is strong and tall and high, and He's calling us to make sure that it's firm and that it's built on the foundation of Jesus Christ, the solid rock of whom we stand.
Yes.
Every other is only going to be sinking sand. Amen? It's all going to sink if it's not built on the rock of our foundation. And when that rock is set, it's going to show others. It's going to show that you're at a crossroads now. And Bishop, this week, God took me back to when I was not long after I was first saved, and I was called to minister. And I remember going to a revival, And this minister, this pastor that was there at this church at that time, she's dead now. But I remember God took me back to this. And I remember during prayer, and I went up to her, and we were in a prayer line, and she was praying for me. And she told me, she said, there will come a time in your life when you will come to a crossroads. You will come to a crossroads in your life, and you will choose the hard way or the narrow way. And God said to me through her, He said, but you will choose the narrow way. You will choose the right path.
Yes.
And that path will be hard. And that path will be hard to look at.
Yes.
But you will choose the right path.
That's it.
He said, but I'm bringing you. I will take you to a crossroads. It's not easy street. It's a broad way out there. But you have to choose the narrow path. Because straight and narrow is that path. And there will be few that will find it. Why? Because all they can see is what's broad.
Yes.
If your eyes are not fastened on God and God alone, then you will look off and you'll look to the left and you'll look to the right. And because there's too much out there, it's a broad area out there. And everything is broad and everything is dim and everything is foggy. And you've got to have your eyes tuned. You've got to have your eyesight correct. You've got to have a 20/20 vision because you can't be veering off to the left and to the right. I've been there and done that. I had a lazy eye. Come on, somebody. Strabismus is what they call it. And a lazy eye means that there's a muscle that is not functioning. And that muscle will allow the eye to go to the left or to the right because it's not going to line up. And what you have to do is you have to strengthen that muscle. I got to get in the Word of God and I got to strengthen the muscles, God. I've got to be a strong vessel for God. I can't allow myself to be looking off to the left and to the right because there's many, many ways there are that many people will find. But the end thereof is death.
Yes.
God help us. Help us to line it up. Line it up, amen. And so He showed me this. And when He started talking to me about the plumb line and how He said, I've dropped the plumb line and I'm waiting on my people to line up because I've already drawn a line in the sand. And no more am I going to walk by this. I'm not going to walk by it because I remember distinctly that a word came forth in this body not so long ago. It's been a few months. Michael, I remember this. And God spoke to us very clearly. And He said, either you deal or I will deal.
Yeah, I did.
I'll never forget that. The fear of the Lord gripped my heart and my soul. And I knew that God meant it because He is not a man that He would lie. He is not a man that He would lie to us, church. Connie, I knew that God meant what He said. And I took Him serious. See, I take God serious when He says something to me. When He gives me a word and He corrects me, I take it serious because I know that God is a God of love. He is a lamb, but He's also a lion. And I have understood, I have come to realize that I need the lion as much as I need the lamb. And I've got to keep myself lined up because I have set myself. See, the word says to set yourself. I have to set myself that I will not be leery, I will not be leaning on somebody else and leaning to the world and leaning to thoughts and other people. See, there's a lot of wind blowing. There's a lot of wind of doctrine that's blowing here and there. And everything that you hear is not God. And there is a lot of ungodly counsel. Yes, Bishop. There's a lot of ungodly counsel. There's a lot that people are saying and trying to instruct and correct us with. But it's not all God. And unless you're a godly person and it lines up with the Word, do not believe it.
Yes.
Paul said, you follow me as long as I follow Jesus. And if I'm not following Jesus, then don't follow me.
Right.
That was from Paul.
That's what He said.
So I was amazed when God said, it's time to line it up. I want you to line it up. And when I get amazed with God, I know that God is real. He's love. I see that as His love because He's given me opportunity because He has not come yet. Jesus has not stepped out to take the church home. And so I know that I'm amazed by that, by His mercy and His love because He's given me another day, another opportunity to go out and to reach somebody on my job, to come along beside them, that when one of them comes up to me like they did this week and said, I've had back problems all week, can you pray for me right now? Yes, I can. And I lay my hands on their back and I pray for them.
Yes.
Because I know that God, only God, see, you can change the atmosphere. You can say, I'm not going to lean today.
Amen.
I'm not leaning today. I don't care whether you want it or not, but my wall's going to be a wreck today. I'm not going to lean to the world. I'm not going to lean into what you're speaking. I'm not going to lean into your lies. I'm not going to lean into everything that you're talking about, your gossip, your slander. I'm not today, I've got it lined up. God has plumb lined me. Amen?
Yes.
You ready to be plumb lined today?
Yes. Yes.
God help us.
Yes. Oh, yes.
God help us. I got to get a drink of water.
That's true.
It's truth, yes. It is truth. Now I want you to go with me to Nehemiah. Bishop started out, and she started talking about how that Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. Nehemiah at that time was in Shushan, the citadel. That's where he lived. That's where he dwelt with the king. And when I got to studying this out, I remembered, Danielle, that Esther and Mordecai was in Shushan at the citadel where the king was. And during this time, he's gotten word from Jerusalem. And he's gotten word that the wall has been broken down and torn down and the gates have been burned. And when he gets this word, he is grieved in his heart. And he is so grief-stricken because he knows that they're a reproach to the enemy that's all around them. He knows that their walls being down, that they would be mocked and ridiculed, and that the enemy, they would be open to the enemy's prey at any time.
Yes.
And so he's grieved, and his heart is so broken, and all he wants to do is just go. He just wants to go because God tells him, okay, you can go and you can build this wall. And so God starts speaking to him. He starts praying to God and said, God, please grant it. Give me favor that I can go and build this wall. Now, nobody in their right mind, one person all by themselves, just within themselves, unless God put it there, would desire to go
No.
4 months travel, 4 months journey into another place and build a wall. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But God had put that in him. And he looked out and he saw the need. See, unless you see the need, unless you see the people that are grieving and that are hurting and that are wide open to pray, unless you see people that are being destroyed daily by the enemy, that have no hope, that are lost and dying, unless you can see that, then you won't go and build.
Exactly.
Unless you see that and you have a heart for the people, for the souls that are lost in this nation, you won't go build. I can tell you, you won't. There was a time in my life that I just wanted to go and build, but I didn't want to build in my heart. I just wanted to be built up, but I didn't want to build. There's a difference. See, I've come to a place that I don't need to be built up. I need to build up.
Yes.
I need to build up.
Yes.
I need to build somebody else up. I need to help them get their wall right.
Yes.
I need to help them to lay the firm foundation on the patriarchs by the Word of God, starting with the Old Testament. Because had we not had the Old Testament, we would not have the New. So we can't throw away the old. That is a false doctrine. That is a doctrine from hell that wants to throw it out. That is not God. So Nehemiah, he was the king's cupbearer as she spoke. See, until you drink of the cup, you're not going to go build either.
And be faithful to the king first.
Because you have to be faithful to the king. Because see, the cupbearer was the servant. He was the servant of the king. And the cupbearer, everything that the king went to eat or drink, he was there to partake of it first. And see, this is the amazing part about God, is when Nehemiah, when he would get the food and when he would get the drink as the cupbearer, as he would begin to drink it, he would digest it. He would let it go down. As I get the word and as I begin to take it in, oh, taste and see that the Lord, that He is sweet. And when I taste it, then I come before my God. And my God will receive me because I have got what He has given to me. And He will receive it then. He will receive my prayers because I have taken in first. I have allowed persecution. I have allowed hard times and trials. I have allowed the hard things to come at me. I have allowed God to break me and to teach me and to show me His ways, for His ways are higher than my ways, and His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. And so I allowed that, and so I drank that. I drank the cup. She has drunk the cup of suffering. She has drunk the cup of pain. and still to this day drinks it. You have no idea how much we drink every day, how much she drinks every day just to serve unto her God. Yes, Lord, I'll drink it. I'll drink it, and then I'll give myself to you. See, that's what Nehemiah learned way back before he ever got to a wall. There was a wall that was out there that needed to be built, that was broken down, that was torn down. The gates had been burned. But Nehemiah had to do this first work first. He had to become faithful to the king, and the king depended on him. Because, see, he had to learn to die by the drink before he could go to the king and ask for anything, because you have no authority until you have drunk the cup first.
The enemy would poison the wine, and that's why they had a cupbearer.
They had a cupbearer to protect the king.
And the cupbearer would drink the wine, and if it was poisoned, he would die to
Yes.
save the life of the king.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was the reason for the cupbearers.
Yes. That's what they did. That was their life. They drank everything before it was ever given to the king. Because there's always somebody looking out to kill you. There's always an enemy after your soul that's trying to destroy you. And so what you do is you drink. You drink of the word, and then you say, oh God, help. And then you take it before the Lord, and you say, I need you to, I'm standing in the gap today for somebody. I'm standing in the gap today for others. I'm standing in the gap today for my brother and my sister. And so Nehemiah looked out, and he saw and he heard what was going on with Jerusalem and how the walls was broken down. And he prayed to God, and he said, oh God, I just need you to let me go. Just help me to get to the wall. And as he began to pray and seek the Lord gave him, he gave him the answer, and he said, yes, go. And so then he goes and he makes his petition before the king. And when he goes to the king and he talks to him, and he says, and he goes to serve him a drink. He goes to serve the king his drink. And the king notices that something just isn't right about Nehemiah today. Something's wrong with his countenance, Amanda. He's sad. The king notices that. And so he takes it in, and he goes to present it to the king. And the king looks at him and he says, why is your countenance down? Why is your countenance fallen? Why are you not happy? Because see, if you know that everything is well with your soul, and you know that everything is well, then all of us, then you go before the king, and you're excited to be in his presence. But that day, there was grievance in his heart, in his soul. And so when he went before the king took notice, and the king asked him what was going on with him. And he said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, I've got word. The walls are broken down, and the gates have been burned. Please, please let me go. Let me go to them, and let me build the wall. Let me rebuild the wall. And the king is sitting in the presence of his wife. And they both are listening to him. He has favor with them, because they know that this man has always been there to protect them. Always been there to watch out for them and help them. And so when he looked over to him, and he looked at both of them, and the wife was sitting there, and they look at him and they say, you may go, but how long will it be before you return?
Yes.
How long will it be before you return?
Yes.
Because they loved Nehemiah. They knew that they could depend on Nehemiah. See, the king's got to know he can depend on somebody in the house.
Yes.
He's got to know that there's somebody that's got a Nehemiah spirit that'll say, I've got to go help somebody, God. I know that you're going to be with me. And you've got to, and God is going to say, he's going to release you to go when he knows where your heart is, and when he knows that your heart is right, and that your heart is grieving for a soul. He will send you and allow you to go. And so Nehemiah goes. And I want you to go with me. I want you to go with me to, I'm going to read in chapter 2, verse 10. Because as he goes, he gives him his favor, and he gives him blessings, and he gives him material, and he sends him on his way, and he sends others with him to help him. But then all of a sudden it says, verse 9 says, then I went to the governors in the region beyond the river and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. So he sent reinforcements to help him. Now, when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite officials heard of it, they were deeply disturbed that a man had come to seek the well-being of the children of Israel. First thing you got to know is on your journey, as you get ready to mount up, you're going to meet opposition.
Always.
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 Now keep in mind, this is the natural, but I want you to keep in mind as I speak to you that we're talking spiritual too.
Yes.
Because see, every time when God gives you a word, see, I can stand in the line and God can give me a prophetic word. And I can get so excited because God has spoken awesome things into my life, and He has. And I've been excited about that, Amanda, when the prophetic word comes and God gives that to us and He tells us our destiny. And I get so excited. But the moment I stand up and go on my journey to get there, opposition comes. That Sandalot spirit will attack me. Always. But you see, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So then in verse 17, so then he after he meets the opposition, because see, they're mad because they don't want to see anything good for the children of Israel. No. They don't want to see anything. So their opposition is already coming at him and building the wall. Verse 17, then I said to them, he goes to the people and he looks. First he takes a journey, as she spoke, he takes a journey around Jerusalem. He says, so I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. Then I rose in the night. See, you got to get up in the night hours. Yes. You got to get up in the night watch to get some things done because the enemy's tracking you. See, they're already tracking him here. And so he realizes he's got to get up in the night watch and start plowing through and looking through and seeing the rubbish that only God can show him. Yes. When it's just him and God. When it's real quiet and you can get alone with God in the night watch, then that's when God will show you what you need to see. And so here he is. And he said, then I rose in the night, and me and a few men with me, and I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, nor was there any animal with me except the one on which I rode. And I went out by night through the valley gate. Are we not in a valley?
Yes.
To the serpent well. Are we not among serpents? Yes. And the refuse gate. Do we not dwell at the dung gate? Yes. And viewed the walls of Jerusalem which were broken down, and its gates which were burned with fire. Then I went on to the fountain gate, but I got to have some water, and to the king's pool, where the king dwells, and there was no room for the animal under me to pass, because there's so much stuff, the animal couldn't even get through it.
So narrow.
So I went up in the night by the valley, and viewed the wall, and then I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. And the officials did not know where I had gone or what I had done. I had not yet told the Jews, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or the others who did the work. So see, he staked it out in the night watch.
Yes.
Then I said to them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire. Come, and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach. And I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me. So they said, let us rise up and build. Then they set their hands to this good work.
They had the king's blessing.
They had the king's blessing. And so here they are. They have set their heart. They've set their hands to the work. They've already put their hand to the plow. Okay? But it's not enough to put your hand to the plow. It's not enough, and you'll see this in just a minute. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us and said, what is this thing that you are doing? Will you rebel against the king? See, we've heard that before here. What is this thing that you do? What is this wall you're building on the Sabbath? What is this Saturday stuff? What is this thing that you all are doing? What are you building? And when the rock is set, what is that rock in the yard? So I answered them and said to them, the God of heaven himself will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, will arise and build, that you have no heritage or right or memorial in Jerusalem. And so here they are. They're starting to build the wall. And things are going pretty good. And they get the wall halfway built up. They get it halfway built. And I thought about how that, we start on a journey in our life, and it may take us years. It may take us years, Ben, to get through this journey to the destination that God has for us on building our wall.
Yes.
Because see, I have built walls that have kept God out.
Right.
And God is saying, no, those walls have to go down.
Yes. Right.
And so when he breaks down the vessel and he breaks it all down because it's not been built right, then he, the potter, will put you on the wheel and rebuild you to keep the enemy out.
Yes.
And to keep him in.
Yes.
Amen? So it's so important that we understand that God is the builder. He is the builder here. So they get halfway. They get the wall halfway built. Because there's been times when I've come halfway. I didn't go all the way. I just come halfway. Because I feel like if I've come halfway and got my wall halfway up, Amanda, that everything's going to be good. And they're going to see, well, at least she's got a wall. May not be all the way, but she's got a wall. And so here we are in chapter 4, starting at verse 6. So we built the wall, and the entire wall was joined together up to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. Now they went from laying their hand to the plow, then they all of a sudden, then they took the mind to work. And so see, they got it halfway up because they not only laid their hand to the plow, but they had their mind in it.
Yes.
See, when you have the mind of Christ, you can build something.
Yes.
But if you don't have the mind of Christ, you're not going to build anything because it's going to crumble. Amen? And so here it is. Now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah the Arab, the Ammonites, and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were being restored and the gaps were beginning to be closed, that they became very angry. Now I thought this was very interesting because Sanballat was from Samaria. And Samaria is on the south side of Jerusalem. The Arabs, Samaria is on the north side. The Arabs are on the south. The Ammonites are on the east. And the Ashdodites were on the west. So Jerusalem is surrounded. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by their enemies,
Yes.
look up.
Yes.
Look up.
Yes.
Look up because your redemption draws nigh. And so here, Jerusalem is surrounded. So when he sees this, and he sees all of these people that are there, they were angry. And so that the gaps were beginning to be closed, that they became very angry. And all of them conspired together to come and attack Jerusalem and create confusion. Here we go. The first thing the enemy wants to do in your wall is create confusion.
Yes.
Because if he can get you confused, see, if it's just halfway built up, then the enemy will come and he will start telling you a bunch of stuff and start getting you to listen to wrong counsel and start telling you that you can't do this. And but you're good enough. You're good already. You don't need any more. And they will feed you a bunch of religion and a bunch of stuff that's not, and they will taunt you and ridicule you and mock you because the enemy will have you surrounded. And when you are surrounded, the only thing that you can do is look up and say, my God and my Lord, help me. And so they're looking, so he sees how that Jerusalem is surrounded because the enemy can come in any area in your life. And the only thing you can do is look up and get a hold of God. Because see, there's been times in my life when I thought my wall was high and I thought my wall was good and everything looked real good and all pretty. But God said, no, it is a stench in my nostrils to look at it and to look to see what you were doing. Because you are not building on a firm foundation. You're building your life on a religious base. And religion stinks in the nostrils of God. And religion is nothing but another false prophet, another false prophecy. It will not hold up. And so I cannot put my faith and trust in any other gods. Unless God builds this wall, it will not stand. So if I add a little this to it and a little that to it, it's not going to stand. My wall's going to lean. And I can't be leaning in and listening to Sanballat. I can't be leaning in and listening to Tobiah. I can't be leaning in and listening to Geshem. I've got to listen to the voice of the Lord because it's God's voice that I got to hear. Because unless I can hear what He says, I can't tell you what He says. Unless I hear what He says, I can't go where He tells me to go. I can't do what He tells me to do. Only the voice of God do we have to hear. We have to hear Him. It is vital that we hear His voice today. It's what I started with. Because we're in a famine of hearing the word of the Lord.
Yes.
People are running everywhere trying to get a word from God. Prophesy to me smooth things. Tell me how good I am. Tell me how everything's going to be okay, Bishop. Because tell me what I want to hear. Tell me about me.
Yes.
Tell me good things. Because I know that if you tell me good things, I'll feel better about myself and I'll have good self-esteem. Everything will be all right then, Amanda. Everything will be good. And I'll feel all good and fuzzy and warm and everything will be just good. God says, I'm not out to build you up. I'm out to build a wall. I am building my kingdom. And my kingdom is built upon foundation.
Yes.
And so they look and he sees. And they've already started their mess. They're already starting to come at him. And so they're standing outside the wall that they've already built halfway up. Nehemiah's on the wall, and he doesn't look. He doesn't lean in to listen. He hears what they're saying, but he's not going to give ear to it. See, you can listen to all the stuff that's going around you, but it's when you give ear to it and when you allow it to come in and to come to your heart that you have made a mistake. And so we have to stay focused on the wall. Amen? And so here he goes. He said, so Nehemiah ups his ammo. And I've heard bishops say this. When the enemy comes in, I just up my ammo. And so what he does is he sees. He sees what the enemy's doing. He sees how that they are circled. The east, the north, the south, and the west. He sees it all. And so Nehemiah, he's not dumb in this. He's not a novice. Not a novice. Because see, he was a cupbearer. He knows. He knows a whole lot about what the enemy tries to do to get in, to kill. He knows already. And he's already drank that cup. And so here he is on the wall. See, you need a man that knows how to drink.
Yes.
You need somebody that knows how to drink from the cup of suffering. You need a man and a woman that knows how to drink, to take a drink. Because unless you're willing to drink with him, you will not reign with him. You've got to learn how to drink with him. You've got to learn that you've got to say, I've got to say no to all the other stuff that's out there, because not everything is pure. Not everything I've tasted is pure, but I know that my God is pure, and I can taste of him, and he is sweet.
Yes.
And you've got to know where to go, because see, only his well is pure.
Amen.
And so here he goes and says, then Judah said, the strength of the laborers is failing. No, wait a minute. I'm going to back up here. So they begin to close in the gap. As they begin to close in the gaps, they became angry, and they all started conspiring, and they brought confusion. Because when the conspiring started, then they started listening and giving ear, and fear came in, and confusion. Because see, confusion is not of God.
When you bridge the gaps, the enemy gets into the gaps.
Yes.
It's the little things.
Yes.
When you close up those little places,
Come on.
allow the serpents to get in. That's what riles them up. That's when they get mad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the gaps, we got many gaps in the wall.
Yeah, breach. There's a breach in the wall.
There's breach.
Nevertheless, we made our prayer to our God. This is Nehemiah. He said, nevertheless, we made our prayer to our God.
Yes.
Our God. And because of them, we set a watch against them.
Yes.
Day and night. Then Judah said,
20%. Praise when
Judah's speaking now. Because see, when you begin to watch, you begin to look out, and you say, this is my God, my God's work. And you start giving a little praise, because see, that's when the foundation starts shaking, is when the praise goes up, right? So the strength of the laborers is failed. The lions come out now. The lion of the tribe of Judah. So the strength of the laborers is failing. She's getting me pumped up. And there is so much rubbish that we are not able to build the wall. Okay, now we got rubbish going on. Now here he is. He's like, okay, I'm going to rally the troops. God is a God for us and not against us. And so now here we are halfway up, and they're bringing confusion to the people, because the people are starting to lean to them and listen, and fear is coming in. And so now I see a lot of rubbish. There's a lot of, we can only build halfway up. Now we got to get rid of some rubbish. We got to get rid of the stuff that's going on here, because now you've leaned and you've listened, and there's confusion and all kinds of stuff going on. So now you got to deal with your stuff, because we can't go any farther until you've dealt with you.
Yes.
They started leaning on their own understanding, as Bishop David said. And when you lean upon your own understanding, that's when you get confused.
That's when the rubbish is there.
That's when the rubbish is there.
It halts all building.
Stops everything. Everything gets stopped. And it can be one person or two people or everybody that's on the wall. See, you can lay your hand in the plow and you can have a mind to work. But if you listen to the enemy and you receive his words, it shuts everything down. We go a little distance, and then all of a sudden, just like Moses when he led the children out of Egypt, they came through the wilderness, they come through the desert, and all of a sudden, he must have looked back every little bit to see if they're with him, because they're not with him. They go a little distance, God starts moving, the house gets shaken, everybody starts repenting, and then all of a sudden, the work in your own life gets just a little bit difficult, and you say, I don't know if I can build this much anymore. I don't know if I can keep drinking this cup. This is a hard cup to drink. I'm not so sure about all this wall this. I'm not sure about if I can do this. And so I don't know. I'm confused here, because the enemy's telling me that something over here might be just a little bit better, or I can do it a different way. The enemy tells me that I can get in a different direction, that I might slip in the back way, or I might just ease my way in, or I don't have to do all of that. I don't have to do all that praying. I don't have to do all that reading. I'm good. I can watch a little TV here. Let me tell you about some foxes. So here they are, and they're halfway built, and there's so much rubbish they can't finish, and everything stops. And our adversary said, they will will neither know nor see anything until we come into their midst and kill them and cause the work to cease. Do you know that's what the enemy does? That's his whole plan, is to bring confusion, to bring fear, to get you leaning. And when you lean, you're not building. And you get your mind off of. There's never been a time in history when there's so much to distract us. So much to distract us. And when I'm distracted, I'm confused. When I get distracted, I get confused. Because it gets in the house. People bring stuff in. And when they bring in the rubbish and lay it all down in the midst of the wall,
Yeah, they do.
we can't build here.
You're tripping over
You're tripping over things. You can't, there's nowhere to walk. You can't walk in this. And so all of a sudden now we have to stop. Everybody has to stop. Everybody stop. Now we got to move out all the rubbish. Everybody's got to deal with their stuff.
That's it.
We got to get rid of all this mess. Whatever you brought in, you got to bring it right here. Bring it right here and lay it all down. See, when Danielle spoke the message about the rod and the standard, she had the table of Lodabar over here, a dry and a desolate place. Now you've come, and the wall's being built, and now you see the altar was right here. Now you got to come and you got to lay it down right here. Because see, what happens with Sanballat when they all come in, because they've come to kill you. And what happens when they come to kill you, they have come to destroy your very life. And so they want to bring confusion to get you off the wall. And so Nehemiah knows exactly what they're up to. He knows that they're up to trying to kill. He knows that they're up to bring confusion, and he knows what they're up to. He's already tuned in to what's going on with them, and he's watching the people. See, Nehemiah he's a servant. He's like a prophet of God too in this time, and he's gone to be he's a bishop. He's an overseer. So he's become all fivefold right now. When he was sent to that wall all by himself, because he allowed God to do what he needed to do in him way back when, and he come under the king, and he shadowed under him. He was a Timothy under a Paul. He stayed under him, and he said, "I will protect you, and I will watch out for you." And the king trusted him and knew that he could, and knew that he could depend on him. See, there are some people that you can depend on, and some people you can't. Because even Jesus had three. He had three. He had a threefold, because he knew that he couldn't tell everything to the whole crowd. You can't tell all 12 everything.
Don't look at your family.
You can't tell them. You can't tell them. Because what you have to do is you have to look out among you and see those who are faithful, those who will stand, those who are tempered. Because not everybody's tempered. Because a lot of people take offense real easy, so they have a bad temperament. They're not very tempered. And so if you're not teachable and you're not tempered mortar, then you're not going to go through any fire. But if you have been and you are a tempered mortar yourself of your wall, you will go through any fire. As God takes you through the fire, you will endure the fire. And you will say, "God, if there's anything here, burn it up and get it to the top and get it away." Amen?
Yes.
So here they are, and they're in a mess. And Nehemiah, he's like, okay, we're going to move all the rubbish. We're going to get rid of all the stuff. Because see, when you think about this, when God is getting ready to build a wall, and as I saw that picture of that table here of Lodabar, and I saw the altar, see, you can't get to that table. You can't get to the king's table until you come to the altar. You have to lay yourself down. And see, until you lay yourself down on this altar, you'll not go any further. But Bishop,
That's the crossroads right there.
right here's your crossroads.
Right here it is.
Right here it is.
Yep.
Right here.
There it is.
You see?
Cross it over.
Because
Lord.
Because see, the priests were in a crossover all the time. They were in the inner court. Right in front of them was the most holy place where God dwelt. But in the inner court is where they were allowed to go in and minister before the Lord. They had the light, the candelabra, which represented Jesus. They had the bread to eat, the light to shine. And then they would go out into the outer court to minister to the people. Because see, we're all called to be kings and priests, but you got to get them in here. And the trouble comes from getting them into here. Because when you go to the outer court, it's the dogs that are on the outer court. Oh, come on. It's the dogs that are on the outer court. And so see, you've got to get them cleaned up. You've got to get them to the brazen altar. You've got to get them to the laver. You've got to get before you can get them to God. And so there's a process that has to be done. Oh, but you know, Bishop, you know good and well, you know, just like with Elijah. Oh, I'm going here too. God says go here. Just like with Elijah. But we've got our altar over here. We've got our altar over here. We like being in the outer court because in the outer court there was an altar. And so we like this altar. It's okay. We good. We can bring our sacrifices to this altar. But you've got to get to the inner court. See, that's where your destiny is. That's where God's calling you to.
Yes.
He wants to get real close, real up close and personal with you. And when you get to that place, then you're right there where He is. But see, you can't give ear to Him if you're way out there. And so here they are. They're out here, and they've got their own altar built, Amanda. And they're calling on their own God. They're calling on the world. I need the world to help me. I need to check into the system because I need some money. I got to have what I got to have. I need somebody to take care of me because after all, that's all I've been used to all of my life. And so I've become dependent on them. And so I've got somebody else to help stabilize me and keep me. And so I keep calling on my gods. Well, what about this church and that church and all these religions? What about all this stuff? And see, that was the problem with Baal. He was a god that couldn't do anything. He was a dead god, a god of the world. And so they danced around him. And because they couldn't get anywhere, just like with Nehemiah and the people here in the rubbish. And Nehemiah's looking, he said, hold on a minute, we got to get rid of the rubbish. Because as long as you got your rubbish here, we can't build this wall. And see what happens with just like with Elijah, when that altar was built. And it was an altar of Baal, and they were dancing around and they were calling on him, but he couldn't do anything for them. Couldn't do anything for them. And so what did they do? They got frustrated and aggravated and confused, and they were in a mess. And so what did they do? They started cutting themselves. Because what they needed to do was they just needed to hear from God. See, people are not hearing what God is saying. They're not hearing the word of the Lord. They're running to and fro, and they're cutting themselves and trying to figure out, but I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to hear me. But there's plenty of bread. Look right over here at this altar. But look at this altar. This altar was built with 12 stones. This is a firm foundation. Elijah said, come over here to this altar and let me show you a thing or two. Come up to this mountain and let me show you something. And they're like, no, I've got to depend on my God. My God is all I know. This is my stuff, my rubbish, my junk. I'm going to hold on to it. And as long as you hold on to it, you will get more frustrated and more anxious. Because as you come into the house and the word of God is going forth and you are being ministered to, then when you go out and you don't deal with your rubbish, then all of a sudden you get more anxious. And the more anxious you get, the more you cut. Because I'm going to cut somebody because I didn't do what I should have done back here. So it's got to be somebody else's fault. I'm preaching better than y'all act.
That's the truth. Yes.
God help us all. We cut us, we cut ourselves, we cut ourselves off, and then we start cutting everybody else. God help us. Rubbish. The rubbish has got to go. The rubbish has got to go, Danielle. Danielle's done stood up.
You cut yourself because you won't let God cut you.
That's it. That's it. See, you gotta let God circumcise and cut off the foreskin. What is foreskin? It's what's out there before everybody. It's your flesh.
That's it.
That's it. That's what it is.
Circumcise your ears.
Circumcise your heart. Circumcise your heart and your ears. Cut away that flesh. Get rid of everything that's not of Him. Let God deal with our mess. Get rid of the rubbish. Because we're building a wall. We're building a wall. And so he starts encouraging the people. And he says, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, great and awesome, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. In other words, he's shaking them and he's saying, wake up, wake up. Stop doing all of this mess. Clean this all up. Get it all out of here. And get your focus back on God. Get your focus back on what is important. Because there's people that are dying. Do you know that they were working on the wall here? Do you know that on the western wall in Jerusalem is where that God has them go every day? They get up and they go to the wall. And he says right here, get your mindset. Start thinking about your children. Start thinking about your family, your brothers and your sisters. And what do I need to do with that? Well, I'll tell you what you need to do with that. You need to get you something. You need to get you a piece of paper. I need a piece of paper. I'll use this right here. You need to take a piece of paper. Just like they do when they go to the wall. And you need to write the names down on it and get it before your face. Because, God, I got to get a focus. Because somebody called me this week and they need me to pray for them. And this is what I need to do. This is the wall I'm building. I'm keeping the enemy out. And so what do they do every day in Jerusalem? They go to the western wall and they take it and they put it up in the holes. They close in the breaches because somebody here today is messed up. And so this week I got to go help them close in that breach. I got to say, God, help them. I need you to minister to so-and-so. I need you to heal my children. I need you to set my family free. I need you to deliver CC because God, you're telling us to build a wall. And a wall is what you require of us. And we got to be the wall first before we can build a wall out there. So they go there every day and they make their petitions and they put it in the holes and they close in the breaches because they're on a wall. See, they know about a prayer wall. They know about prayer wall. They just don't know about a Jesus. They don't know about the rock. But see, Jew and Gentile is going to come together. The Jew and the Gentile are merging. There's a merging going on. And we are praying for them. And we are praying that their wall will go up. And the wall will be high. And the wall will be strong. That the enemy cannot get through to it. They cannot get through to them. God said, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. That is our duty. That is what He's called us to do. As we build our wall, we build their wall. As I build my wall, I build your wall. See, God is calling us. He's calling us for character. He's dropped the plumb line. And He's saying it's today, it's now, or never. Either you get this or you don't. Either you go out and you say, today is the day. I will not return back. I remove my rubbish. I stop my cutting. I stop cutting people. I stop cutting myself. I start realizing who I am in Christ. That I am a daughter of the Most High God. And when I get to this place, when I get to this altar, I lay myself down and I put my wood on it, my flesh, and I call on the prophet of God and I say, prophet of God, call down the fire and burn me up, burn up this flesh. Because I need to get, I've got a destiny. I got to get over here. I'm getting to this table. This is the place that I want to get to. I need to get to where God is so that I can rest. My destiny is with Him. But right now, we've got to build a wall. We haven't got there yet. We haven't got to that table. That's a banqueting table. But Jesus is about to sound the alarm in Zion. And He's about to say, son, go get my children. And when He does, the eastern sky is going to split. He's going to ascend on a cloud. And He's going to call up all of those in the graves. The foundations will be shaken. And the graves will come open. And souls will come up out of it. And then after they ascend, then we will arise right behind them. God is getting ready to blow the trumpet. And He's saying, awaken and hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying into the church today. Today is the day. Don't waste another minute. Stop playing around. Get rid of your stuff. God is in the house. Would to God that we would hear it. Even Jeremiah said, the Lord said to Jeremiah, said, if you return, then I will bring you back. You shall stand before me. If you take out the precious from the vial, you shall be as my mouth. Let them return to you, but you must not return to them. And I will make you, to this people, a fortified bronze wall. And they will fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you. For I am with you to save you and deliver you, says the Lord. I will deliver you from the hand of the wicked, and I will redeem you from the grip of the terrible. That's what God said to Jeremiah. God help us. God help us. In the New Testament, it talks about building a tabernacle. We are that tabernacle. We are the tabernacle of David that God is building. When we return and when we rebuild the wall, will we not just stop halfway? But when we say, God, as for me and my house, I will serve the Lord. As for me and my house today, I make my mind up that I'm not going to get up from this place, the position in my heart, until I have thoroughly purged. I have thoroughly allowed you to purge me on the threshing floor. Because see, I can build halfway and stop. But I need God to break everything in me. Because people need to hear God. They need to know that there is a balm in Gilead. They need to know that God is here in this house. They need to know that God is true and faithful. They need to know where they can come to hear a word of purity. They don't need it to be defiled. They need to know where to come to. And God is beginning to send people in, and they're coming in gently and slowly. And God is starting to bring. But God is saying, okay, it's time for you who are there to start working on your wall. It's time to look up and see that redemption draws nigh. And when your redemption draws nigh, know this also, that Jerusalem is surrounded by the enemy, and so are you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
That was the first gate that was studied.
Yes.
Chapter 2.
Yes.
I've studied it for years. I
Yes.
have to pray for 3 or 4 hours a day.
Yes.
The past 25 years, and today the sheep it's being hung because the sheep, they come to the gate. They've been looking for a gate. Because they come and the shepherd says, here's the gate. Here's the gate. They've been looking for the sheep gate, and Jesus is the gate. He's the door. He's the door that's being hung that they got to come through. You can't come any other way but through the gate.
No.
The sheep gate is the shepherd. He's the gatekeeper. And he's at the gate.
Yes.
You say why I'm not standing? Because the people stood up. They
stood up to hear the word.
They stood up to hear the word of the Lord half a day when the rain was coming down. They didn't mind to stand up. They stood up and blessed the Lord. The people just want to sit. They just want to sit. They just want to be comfortable because they don't understand and because they don't want to fight. They don't want to build. They just want to come in. They want to be blessed. They want to be touched. And they want to walk back out, but they don't want to change. They don't want to change.
They want a swinging door.
They want to swing door. But Jesus ain't going to swing. He's a rock that will not roll with you. He's a rock that will not be moved by any man. And if you don't build your house on the rock, that everything that can be shaken is going to be shaken. And the shaking has already begun. And only that which is built upon the rock will stand.